Genghis Khan practiced semen retention. Alexander the Great was semen retaining.
I've never met a guy who looked like he could get a woman and talk about that shit. Have you ever seen a guy talking about semen retention? You were like, man, I bet that could get a lot of women.
Sex before battle makes a man weak. And I think that goes into the idea that, like, you know, when you ejaculate or you release your ejaculant, you're like, you know, you're basically losing energy. Or you're giving up energy. And so it's like, I've seen that incorporated into like a warrior philosophy where it's like, you don't want to have sex or you don't want to come before you have to do something important. You want to save that energy
for that
time. What's poppin', everybody?
Welcome back to the Cold Popcast.
I'm Zoe.
And I'm Steve.
And today we're going to talk about semen retention and should you be doing it?
Yeah, man. With the end of No Nut November happening recently, we're going to be talking about semen retention. And although semen retention does seem like a sort of comical idea, it basically involves retaining your ejaculate for long periods to boost your masculine energy.
Ooh.
Yeah, so we'll be exploring semen retention to find out if it's actually worth it to hold that nut in.
That's right, guys.
So let's see this first video. First off, we have Elon Musk talking about semen retention, and you know, he's a very successful guy. So I think that he's the perfect person.
He was like at all the person I thought we were gonna be talking about semen retention.
He's nutted in so many women though.
Here we have George Bush on semen retention.
All right, let's see it.
Okay.
Massive amount of thinking, like truly stupendous amount of thinking, has gone into sex without purpose, without procreation, which is actually quite a silly action in the absence of procreation. It's a bit silly.
Well,
so why are you doing it? Because it makes the limbic system happy. That's why.
That's why.
But it's pretty absurd, really.
Well, the whole of existence is pretty absurd in some kind of sense.
Yeah.
All right, pause it. So, yeah, he's basically saying, like, you know, a lot of people spend a lot of time thinking about sex. He didn't really go too deep into semen retention, but he's kind of giving, like, a reason why we should retain our semen, so we don't think about sex all the time and waste our energy.
He kind of says it like a gleeful, like know-it-all, just kind of like, hey, you're a little silly boy, just coming for no reason, huh? What's the point, huh? You're not having kids, you just coming?
Yeah,
getting inside of a woman for no reason.
Coming?
You just like to ejaculate, don't you?
Exactly.
Yeah. Your limbic system really loved when you just nutted, didn't you?
Didn't you? He's just poking at you. Yeah, it's funny. I'm reminded of a quote from I got this from a show called Spartacus, and one of the things, this is a show about gladiators basically, and one of the things that like one of the main gladiators named Crixus, he was gonna go into battle, and like he had like a relationship going on with one of the servant girls, and then he was gonna sleep with her, and then he was like, I can't, it's not good for a warrior to basically have sex before battle makes a man weak. And I think that goes into the idea that, like, when you ejaculate or you release your ejaculant, you're like, you're basically losing energy, or you're giving up energy. And so it's like, I've seen that incorporated into like a warrior philosophy where it's like, you don't want to have sex or you don't want to come before you have to do something important. You want to save that energy for that time.
Yeah, you gotta hold that nut, man, or else you're gonna be juiced.
Yeah, you want to go in there sleep, you're yawning.
Yeah, go to the Mike Tyson video, actually. He actually makes a good point about that. So I don't know. I mean, I kind of agree that you shouldn't be like jerking off or, wasting your energy before going into battle.
Yeah, I guess. Before you go to war.
But Mike Tyson makes a pretty good point about why his coaches would tell him not to bust before fighting.
Ooh.
You're familiar with semen retention, obviously.
Explain it to me.
So, just the whole process of holding on to your essence, Did you do that a lot before your fights?
Yes. Not because I thought it helped me, it's because other great fighters did it, and I wanted to be able to be like them. If they can do it and that made them great, I have to do that too.
How do you feel like it affected your life?
It didn't affect me. It's not this is what I found out from the old trainers. The old trainers didn't mind if you got some pussy, but they didn't want you chasing pussy. They didn't want you all night fucking chasing pussy. Now you gotta come running in the morning. You've been hanging out all night. You get an hour to sleep to go run. Right. That's what you can get some pussy. Don't abuse it, but just don't chase it.
you're familiar with semen.
Yeah, so it's what do you think about that? Like, you know, you just shouldn't like. It's not about like keeping your energy, and it's just like you shouldn't be thinking about a bitch while you're doing something important.
I think that makes sense. I think it's like from that perspective, it's like it's more of a mentality thing. So it's like your mental. It's like you don't want to be having something important and you're so focused on like busting a nut or getting sex. So it's like his thing is, and you know, he may be more correct than, you know, just the simple idea of retaining your nut, but it's like keeping yourself focused on the task and not getting caught up with like the you know, the dopamine rush of like getting a nut. Because if you are the person that's like, you know, you got something important but all you can think about is like having sex or getting pussy, then you know, I think that's exactly, the big Latino, the big Brazilian BBL, like I think that's gonna probably affect your performance or distract you way more than, you know, just ejaculating. So I think that was probably the more important message from that whole thing. It's like it's more of a mentality thing.
Yeah.
You know, Muhammad Ali wouldn't have sex 6 weeks before his fights.
Mm.
Wow, that's a lot of.
That's probably what he meant when he was
dedication.
saying like the greats before him used to hold it in.
Yeah.
I think it's 6 weeks. 6 weeks. I
mean,
mean,
hey,
I know
man.
it was a long time.
Yeah.
I know it was a long
Quite a
time.
while.
Yeah, I'm in great fighting form right now. I'll tell you that much.
Do you think there's like aside from the mentality aspect, like physically, do you think there's any like it's actual like if you don't like you're gonna actually be more energized if you keep your nut in? Because I think that's like the essence of semen retention from like the modern perspective.
I think so, especially if you're like usually watching porn and masturbating. It's like a dopamine thing. Like if you resist like porn and masturbation or whatever, then you're gonna have a much more regulated dopamine system. I think.
True.
Like if you can just sort of like, you know, press the dopamine button whenever you want. I think that applies to anything like smoking or drinking or anything that actually causes that release of dopamine. I'm no scientist or anything, but I believe that if you have, or even if it's just sex, even if it's not even masturbation, even if you have access to frequent sex, your reward system is sort of going to be tied to getting that thing. You know, it's going to be tied to be like if you have a wife that lets you bone every now like very frequently, and then she stops letting you do that, it's probably going to throw your entire day off.
It would, yeah. Well, I think it's like, you know, you get used to like routine and habit. So it's like if she's breaking the routine for you, you're like, hey, like what's going on? Like, what's wrong?
Yeah, but it's not just the routine. I feel like you'd actually like be lacking the amount of stimulation, like dopamine wise, too.
That's true.
Like if you get used to jerking off every day, and then you say like, oh, I'm not going to jerk off today, it's probably going to be kind of hard.
That's true. I mean, that's like anything that's addictive. I think that's why, you know, porn is discouraged, or like frivolously, like, you know, any form of masturbation is discouraged because you get addicted to the feeling. Because anything that like innately like triggers a dopamine response can be addicting. So it's like masturbation, drug use, anything like that is like it's not gonna be good. Because one, I'm pretty sure it has like long-term physiological effects on you, maybe like hormonal imbalances if you like constantly do that.
Yeah.
And then just two is like it's gonna mess with your it's gonna mess with like how your dopamine regulates itself. I would assume, and then it's also gonna like throw you off like, you know, your patterns if you try to like not do it, because your mind's gonna be constantly like going back and forth between like, oh, I feel down, let me jack off, let me like do this.
Yeah, your whole like reward system like changes. I forgot what the other word accompanies that is.
But no, yeah, it literally switches up your whole mindset. So I think it's like good to not like succumb to that type of that type of addiction, or to like build that type of habit, because it's only going to lead you down a road of now like I'm mentally dependent on this, and you know I'm no longer like have drive to actually like even pursue like, you know, women or actual relationships. I'm like, I can just bust now, and I don't got to worry about that. You know, I don't got to worry about like doing those other beneficial things in my life.
So let's see the Andrew Tate video now. Andrew Tate actually has a take on this. And,
The top G.
I
Is
wish
it
I had
Andrew or
his-
Tristan? Because that's Tristan.
It's one of the Tates.
Okay.
The little G.
The Tate spective.
Genghis Khan practiced semen retention. Alexander the Great was semen retaining.
I've never met a guy who looked like he could get a woman to talk about that bullshit. Have you ever seen a guy talking about semen retention? You were like, man, I bet that dude could get a lot of women. No, fucking no.
I fucked girls.
Got blood on his head?
A world title fight the same day. People are like, oh, but how did you find motivation? Because I wanted to win. If your mind is so fragile that ejaculating is going to make you not have the will to conquer or to be an important specimen, if you're just going to jerk off and then lay in bed all day, well, then you're a jackass. Your problems are beyond semen retention.
Genghis Khan.
So Andrew Tate's
practiced
basically
semen
saying
retention.
like, you know, semen retention isn't
So
going to
you
help you
can
at
do
all.
both.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's so motivated that he can nut right before the fight, and it's not going to make a difference.
I don't understand how they will know. Like, how do they know for sure that Genghis Khan was practicing semen retention?
I feel well. They were saying like
Genghis Khan of all people.
they were saying like no way Genghis Khan was.
Oh, they
practicing
said no
semen
way.
retention.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's like, of course, yeah. I mean, if you're the type of person that's like you're not affected by it, then yeah, obviously it doesn't have to like necessarily apply to everybody. I think it's just like I think semen retention is like one of those like tips or habits, because not everyone is necessarily addicted to masturbation. Not everyone is not like innately doing that. So I think it's just one of those things where it's like one of those pieces of advices to where it's like you can't go wrong by not doing it. Mm-hmm. So it's like, why not say it? Right. Even if it doesn't apply to you, even if it's not like a huge factor in your life, it's like saying it or giving that message out to most people is going to help more people than it's going to hurt. Right. So it's like I could see that, but I could see if you're a successful person already, it's like that's not a factor in your life. You may view it as like, oh, that's a ridiculous advice. It's like I don't have to worry about that, but maybe someone does. So I can see it as being helpful advice either way.
What's the longest you guys have retained your semen?
I mean, like maybe I say a month.
I mean, it's like 3 months. I made it 3 months before.
Okay, wow. Nice.
Full nut.
Yeah.
That was spilling out of my nose.
Nice.
That's horrible.
2 weeks.
Yeah, I would say a month.
Damn.
I would say I can't like track back, I guess, to when I was young enough to where it's like I would just inadvertently never nut, because I just didn't care.
Like
but
you weren't even capable of it.
Yeah, but like I would say like consciously probably like like a month of being like, all right, then I got like, all right, I gotta do something about this.
Yeah, man. Wow. I made it like 3 months one time. It was crazy. And I did feel different, actually. I felt better.
Probably.
Like,
I
felt more regulated.
I'd go years.
I know the time after I fucking held it in and fucking busted, it was like
Leezy never busts.
Huge. You just saw so much power. It's like
Leezy wants us to believe he doesn't masturbate.
I've never done it.
Yeah, Leezy's
not once.
Leezy's never masturbated.
Not a natural thing for me to do.
Leezy's a liar.
Leezy's above us.
It's just not.
Yeah, semen retention is like charging your Kamehameha. It's like the more time you put into charging it, the louder, the bigger the blast.
The louder.
Yeah.
So I was just in his bedroom busting.
Yeah, man, I'm
neighbors
screaming.
are like, what the fuck's going on over there?
I hear a knock on the door. I'm like, go away. This doesn't concern you.
I'm almost done.
There we go.
All right, guys. I feel like we talked about nut enough.
That's true. Did we have any more videos on it, or would that be?
There's a Jake Paul video, but I don't really want to watch it.
Come on, let's just do it. We've
already this is the benefits of semen retention. Actually, go play that one.
Oh, okay.
There's 2 more videos, but I mean,
for the education.
All this nut talk.
That's hilarious.
Sex energy rules everything. 2 things that are the most difficult to discipline is your seed and your food. If a man can discipline those 2 things, there's nothing in life that he can't do. Exactly, because the lower rules on the chakra. This is the lower part. Sex energy rules everything.
Okay, nice.
The sex chakra.
Well, it seems like the general consensus is if you learn how to control your nut, you can take over the world.
Yeah, you can become the king of the pirates.
Exactly. I bet Luffy never came. In fact, that's the reason Luffy never turned to stone.
He doesn't even look at boil.
I feel like Luffy can't even jerk off because his dick would just like stretch.
I never saw. There was never an episode of Naruto where he was jacking it.
Yeah,
not one.
Well, Naruto definitely jerked off.
Yeah,
sexy jutsu. He would jerk off to himself in the mirror.
He probably did.
Yo, that's actually very true. I could absolutely believe that. You can't think of. You can't come up with a jutsu like that without jerking off. You can't.
Yeah. Well, let's just watch this Jake Paul thing real quick.
A lot of fighters are affected by it, including myself.
And you're sure this isn't just all mental?
I'm sure, 110%. I'm not. I don't believe in placebo. I have to experience things for myself.
And you notice that has a positive impact?
Yeah, it's night and day. I've only messed up like on occasion, once or twice, because it's noticeably different, and I take more punishment in sparring if I do that. A lot of fighters.
I like when people say
I get punished if I masturbate.
I like when people say once or twice, as if like there's a huge difference between 1 or 2 times. It's like if you say that, you mean 2. You mean 2 or more. If it was 1, you would know if it's just 1. Yeah. It's like no, it's twice, 2 or more.
Yeah, I might have touched my penis a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's close this Semen episode out.
All right, guys.
You can find us on all social media platforms at Decode Podcast. We're also on all audio and video platforms, that is Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Rumble. Patreon, $5 a month gets you access to our entire catalog of My Black Friends podcast, as well as any other exclusive content we create in the future. Thanks for popping in. We gotta pop out of here.
All right, peace.